Hey, how's it going, my fellow survivors? So as you know, it's been 20 days since Sony made the dumb decision to delay The Last of Us Part 2 indefinitely. Since then, they've pulled the game from the PlayStation Store, you can no longer pre-order the game anywhere, they've given refunds to those of us who did pre-order, and even unlisted the release date trailer on YouTube. So with all that happening, with them giving back money they've already made on the game, you know shit's serious, and things are looking pretty bleak for the release of Part 2. And I have a very bad feeling it's going to end up getting pushed all the way to October or November, or even worse, early 2021. And if that happens, I'm going to fucking lose it. I mean, it's the only game I cared about this year. Yeah, I was looking forward to Cyberpunk, Ghost of Tsushima, Dying Light 2, and Watch Dogs Legions, but if I had to only choose one game to release this year, it would most definitely be The Last of Us Part 2. And sadly, that might not even happen, and because of that, I decided to do something I didn't want to do, which is read the potential story spoilers that leaked on 4chan earlier this month. If these spoilers end up being true, I'm going to end up being pissed off at myself for reading them, but I'm also going to be pissed off at Sony for delaying the damn game in the first place, because if it was still scheduled for May 29th, I wouldn't have been tempted to read the 4chan spoilers. I would have just held out another month. But with the release date in limbo, I had to get my Last of Us Part 2 fix. And since Naughty Dog isn't giving us any new info or gameplay, we're having to resort to sites like 4chan and Reddit, which is sad. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now be warned, these spoilers might end up being true. So if you want to go into The Last of Us Part 2 blind, with no spoilers whatsoever, get your ass up out of here right now. I'm going to give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Alright, so the info starts off by saying that the person is an immediate family member of a Naughty Dog employee, which could be true. Neil Druckmann did confirm that all of the Naughty Dog employees are working from home during his interview on the PlayStation Blogcast. Plus, we know a day after the delay, one of them leaked 2 short gameplay clips. And the person who posted this story leak could be that same person. Who knows? But after that, it says some obvious stuff we've known since 2018 about how the game is centered around Ellie and how she ends up falling in love with Dina. Next up, it says Act 1 concludes with Dina and Ellie sharing an important, intimate moment solidifying their relationship. And that is interrupted when they're attacked by the Seraphites, and Dina is killed during the attack. They also give a little bit more info about the Seraphites, saying that they consider themselves angels cleansing the wasteland because they believe the apocalypse was caused by sinners. Also says they don't like gays because it's a sin, says the group mostly consists of white men and women, and refers to them as SJW baddies. It also mentions how minorities are the majority of ones that leave the cult, and they only hang and disembowel those who leave, aka apostates. They also call outsiders wolves and consider themselves lambs, although I think it should be the other way around since they do disembowel people. That's definitely something a wolf would do, not a gentle lamb. But alright, so let's talk about this. So Act 1 ending with Dina dying makes sense. 99% of the fan base already had assumed that she was going to die and be the reason that Ellie goes on her revenge quest in the first place. So it's not surprising. But what is surprising is that if it's true, it's kind of lame, because I was hoping Neil and Hallie would have subverted our expectations and made it where something else completely different happens and Dina ends up living till the end of the game. But you know, Ellie being in love with her, losing her, and going on a revenge binge is understandable, and I can get behind it even if it is cliche. Now, let's talk about the most controversial part of this info, which is the fact that the Seraphites are a religious cult that don't like gays. Now, I've seen an uproar of hate towards the game because of this, with people saying they're not even excited for the game anymore and how they're not paying $60 to play some SJW bullshit, so on and so on. So let me give you my opinion on it. I have no problem with the Seraphites being a psychotic religious cult. We've known they were a religious cult since 2017 when the Paris Games Week Mystery Woman trailer released. It's nothing new. And everybody knows that religious people don't believe in homosexuality, and that's all religions, not just Christianity. We also know that religious people are hypocrites. They talk about how they shall not judge, yet all they do is judge. They also sin excessively, yet condemn others who sin. And religious people are crazy, which is why I've never been into the whole religious thing. I've always been agnostic, because most religious people already have a cult mentality, praising a God that may not exist and blindly following church leaders and believing everything they read in a book. And I truly believe if the apocalypse ever happened, there would be cults just like the Seraphites out in the world. There are already pastors blaming COVID-19 on gays and sinners, and they have large followings of idiots that they could brainwash into killing innocent people. I mean, it's not as far-fetched as people think, and it's definitely got nothing to do with a SJW mentality. I mean, look at ISIS. They're basically a cult of psychos who use their religion as an excuse to kill innocent people. And they've been doing this shit for years, and we're not even in the apocalypse yet. So imagine how many of these religious cults would pop up during the end of the world and use their religion as justification for killing people. It's scary to think about. And the weirdest part is, in my eyes, and a lot of other people's eyes, murder is like the worst sin of all time. Yet these religious cults murder other people who are committing less egregious sins. It makes no sense, but like I said, religious folk are hypocrites, and it's a very high probability. Now, something that already has me questioning the validity of this leak is the fact that they said the Seraphites only hang and disembowel apostates, aka traitors, who leave their group. But the mystery woman didn't seem to be a traitor. She wasn't dressed like a Seraphite. She didn't have the scar across her mouth. She didn't have her hair done up like all the other Seraphite women, yet she was about to be disemboweled. And if you look at the two guys hanging above her, they don't seem to have mouth scars and their hair is grown out. Same as the E3 demo when a guy with his hair grown out is hung and gutted. Also, the leak said the majority of traitors are minorities, but the two guys look white to me. And one of the Seraphites that Ellie kills in the E3 demo is black. So yeah, I'm definitely taking all of this info with a grain of salt. Something else the leak said is that all of the Seraphites are immune to the cordyceps, just like Ellie. And the cut on their mouth is done with an infected knife to make sure the person is immune before they join. Now, this sounds very far-fetched. Now, I assume there was probably going to be one or two other immune people that Ellie comes across in the story of part 2, but I did not think there was going to be a whole fucking group of immune people. I mean, there seems to be a lot of Seraphites, and if they're all immune, that would take away from Ellie being special and one of a kind. And that would also mean the journey to get Ellie to the Fireflies for a vaccine in the first game was pointless, since there are plenty of other immune people in the world that could have been chosen instead. And according to this leak, a flashback happens where the mystery woman turns out to be Ellie's mother. Ellie's mom was looking for a cure, apparently has sex with a Seraphite man, and gets pregnant with Ellie. That Seraphite man, aka Ellie's dad, is then killed by the Seraphites for sleeping with a wolf, aka Outsider. And if that's true, maybe the guy hanging above the mystery woman in the 2017 trailer was him, which is why she looked so distraught when she glanced up. And in one of my theory videos, I did mention how I think Ellie's dad would show up in the story, and if this is true, I was somewhat right. I still don't think the mystery woman is Ellie's mom though, because the Seraphites and the environment looks way too similar to the way it looked back in the E3 2018 demo when Ellie was fighting them. I mean, that's a 19-year gap, so there's no way things would be exactly the same way, but anyways, let's continue. So it says Anna and Marlene are friends, which we already knew from the first game, but then this person contradicts themselves by saying Anna gave birth to Ellie, then had Ellie taken away to get her away from Marlene and the Seraphites. If they were friends, why would Anna not want Marlene to watch after Ellie? That makes no sense, especially after playing the first game, knowing that Marlene was basically a surrogate mother to Ellie, keeping tabs on her and making sure she was safe for 14 years. And on top of that, hearing the audio logs from Marlene where she was talking to Anna about how bad she feels for having to sacrifice Ellie in order to create a vaccine. Plus, Marlene gives Ellie Anna's switchblade and a letter from Anna in the American Dreams comic book. Are you telling me that the knife really didn't belong to Anna and that Marlene wrote that letter, not Anna? I mean, it's highly unlikely. It also says that Marlene was a part of the WLF around the time of her friendship with Anna and Ellie's birth. So you're telling me Marlene went from the WLF, who kill outsiders on sight, to the Fireflies, who want to create a vaccine and save the world? Yeah, right. Also, if Marlene and Anna knew about the Seraphites, why didn't they just kill one of them and use their brain to create a vaccine, since apparently they're all immune? All this info just seems implausible, knowing what we know from the first game. Anyways, let's talk about the rest of the info given. So it says Jesse joins Ellie on her revenge quest, and that he is the one that grabs Ellie by the mouth in the release date trailer, not Joel. But I don't believe that, because I watched the release date trailer in slow motion and took a screenshot of it showing the side of Joel's face as he grabs her. Now, don't get me wrong, Naughty Dog could have intentionally switched out the models to make us believe it's Joel when it's really someone else, but I still think it's Joel. And they say Jesse is later killed in front of Ellie. Now, if that's true, the part of the trailer where Ellie opens the door and gets ambushed and held down on the ground could be when Jesse's death occurs, and those guys could be the WLF. Who knows? It also says Ellie goes to her old house, which is weird because from what we know, she's never really had a home. She's basically been an orphan going from place to place. Tommy's community is probably the first true home she's ever had her whole life, so that info seems pretty damn fake. Then it says Joel joins Ellie on her journey for justice and ends up getting killed, which causes Ellie to question if the quest for revenge was even worth it in the first place. Now, this is something I predicted and said pretty much exactly in one of my theory videos that I'll link in the comments below. So if this is true, it wouldn't be super surprising because everybody has been assuming he would die since that very first 2016 teaser trailer, but it would be super sad because nobody wants Joel to die. And if he really does, I hope we get to play as him at least a few times, and I hope he goes out in the most badass way possible. Maybe protecting Ellie with an assault rifle, shooting a lot of enemies while also getting shot multiple times, sort of like Tony Montana at the end of Scarface or John Marston at the end of the first Red Dead Redemption. I just don't want him to get bitten and have to be put down, or him dying from a single gunshot wound, especially after surviving a fall and rebar through the abdomen in the first game. He deserves to go out like a hero, since a lot of people consider him a villain at the end of the very first game. Now, one of the last bits of info is that Marlene's brother is the leader of the WLF. Now, there's a screenshot that Naughty Dog released after the indefinite delay that shows a black man surrounded by men with guns, who I said was probably Marlene's dad and the new leader of the Fireflies in my screenshot analysis video. So he could be the brother this leak is talking about, which would mean I kind of got it right. He could be after Joel, knowing that he killed Marlene, and that scene from the trailer with the naked guy in the chair might actually end up being Joel in the chair getting tortured. Naughty Dog liked to swap character models in trailers to trick us, so it's definitely a possibility. And finally, the little bit of info they mentioned was Ellie ends up with a Seraphite girlfriend who won't turn when they exchange fluids. Now, this is just stupid. We know that Ellie kisses Dina multiple times, exchanging saliva. And Dina seems to be fine and most likely doesn't become infected. So why would they feel the need to put who won't turn when exchanging fluids? Unless Dina is secretly immune too, which is why she doesn't turn. I don't know. But I feel like because Ellie's strain of the cordyceps is mutated, preventing her from turning, that means that she can't infect other people she touches, kisses, or even bites. I mean, she bit David in the first game, but he didn't live long enough for us to see if she infected him or not. But who knows? Now, Ellie might be like Thomas Graham from the show Containment on Netflix. The show is about a virus that kills everyone who gets it, and there's this kid named Thomas who is immune. But the problem is he can still infect people, which he does unintentionally. It's a pretty good show that you should watch, and it even stars Claudia Black, who portrays Chloe in the Uncharted series, who I'm sure a lot of you are the fans of. But yeah, Ellie could still be contagious even though she's immune. Highly unlikely though. But there you have it, folks. My opinion on all the leaked story information. Some of it is obvious, some of it is plausible, and some of it makes no sense and sounds like some made up horse shit. But all in all, I'm not as mad about any of it as most people are. I do hope the majority of this leaked info is fake though. Not because I disagree with any of it, but because I want to be surprised when I finally play the game in 2021. And I'll feel pretty shitty playing the game and finding out all of this is true. It'll end up being less surprising and shocking. Although technically it doesn't give any specific info on how Joel, Dina, and Jesse die, so even if this is all true, we can still be surprised and emotionally devastated witnessing exactly how they do die. But we won't know until the damn game releases, which better be this year and as early as possible, like June or July. I do not want to have to wait till the fucking end of the year or next year. But anyways, what are your guys' thoughts on this leaked info? Does it make you not want to play the game anymore? Do you think it's all a crock of shit? Are you still excited for part 2? Let me know below, and remember, no matter what, you gotta keep finding something to fight for. And stay safe, and stay home.